North Carolina with serious intent to leave the ACC. That means Louisville, hi, to the Big 12. Also, Deion Sanders, so back. This is the Big 12 squad. Did I say Grande squad? How do I usually open this thing? Oh.
You're talking ball with the Big 12 squad, sponsored by Game Time. From Oklahoma State to Utah, from Kansas State to BYU, from Houston to Texas Tech, it's the local experts of the Locked On Podcast Network bringing you scoops, breakdowns, and the most comprehensive preview of the upcoming Big 12 weekend. Buckle up, it's the Big 12 squad, and we have a seat for you. No hurt feelings and thin skin allowed. Squad up. You're part of the Big 12 squad.
Happy Thursday, everybody. Welcome to the Big 12 squad. So much to get to in Big 12 news today. One of the busiest off seasons that I can remember. Today's show is brought to you by Game Time. We are joined. He's all the way from the West Coast, but he's the biggest Kansas State fan that I know because I know so many of them, and he's the biggest one. Christian Rao of Locked On K-State. Hey, how about the best-looking guy in the entire Locked On Big 12 squad show? He changes his mustache and beard combo every single week. Cody Stovall got his ears lowered. Oh, this cat has more hair? JT Westerville of Locked On Utes. I think it's coming back. The Bosley's working. Parker Ainsworth is well back. He hosts Locked On Jeez. With the Houston Cougars. We've got, for the first time in a couple of weeks, he's been on a road trip all the way across the country. God, Parker, turn your damn microphone on. Mountaineer Paul is back with us, an incognito. Hey, he's our resident member of the LDS Church. It's Jake Hatch, host of Locked On BYU Cougars, because, of course, that makes sense. And his head coach is not leaving. He's not leaving. Kevin Borba, Locked On Buffs. Deion Sanders is back.
That's Borbcastic.
One of us. One of us. One of us.
We can definitely get to the Dave Aranda quote later on in this show. Let's open it up and start with the news cycle as it goes in order. North Carolina, last week it was broke by Inside Carolina that their intent is to leave the ACC and join the SEC. I've heard from, I have like one source in America, and I don't even trust him. but according to
Cam Stewart
him,
doesn't count. Cam Stewart doesn't count.
It's Cameron Stewart too. According to him, the reason the SEC might actually be interested in West Virginia is Belichick and Kirby, or Belichick and Kiffin. The bump that you get from having Bill Belichick in your conference and the Jordan brand would help. And if they're going to do that, I don't foresee him being the head coach in 5 years. You're going to have to move quickly. If this is all true, the smoke is true, I think Clemson, Florida State probably follows suit. Who's on our wish list? Who do we want to see in the Big 12 conference if you have your pick of the litter out of the ACC? Jake Hatch, you're one of the journalists that's on here. Where do you start?
Well, I understand why a program like North Carolina would want to leave because, simply put, money talks. But to your point, I think that there's a brand recognition out there as well that is in play here. But the weirdest thing about that whole report, Drake, is that they're wanting to leave, but not until 2030. Oh, what's going to happen in 2030? Oh, wait, the new contract negotiations are coming around. No wonder that's when this report is going to actually go into effect. It feels like it was almost in a way a bait and switch in a way.
Cody, you?
Yeah, I say Miami wholeheartedly. I just think whenever people talk about the ACC, they seemingly always talk about Clemson and Florida State, but for whatever reason, ACC gets left in the dust. They have a very rich tradition and history. The Big 12 needs some of that blue blood level status. So if we're going to have to fight over the Clemsons and Florida States of the world, I'd rather actually just end up with Miami because I do think they classify pretty close to those dudes.
I don't think we're getting Miami in that situation.
Who wants Miami? Why would they want Miami?
They're still a big brand. It's still a bit, and they're also they're very well conditioned for the future of college football with their NIL as well too. I don't think they're going anywhere. They're going to win a lot of games over these next few years because I also think it's not till 2030. They got a good shot to make the college football playoff this year. Okay. I find it very hard to see Miami ending up in the Big 12 and not where some of the other top brands in that conference go.
Then Louisville. What about Louisville? What about Pitt?
But no. Even on Miami, they don't check either of the boxes that North Carolina
whispering?
does.
Why are you whispering?
I don't know.
You told him to turn down his mic earlier.
I'll turn it back up. No, I was going to say, I don't think Miami checks either of the boxes that North Carolina does, according to Sankey, right? It's not the big Jordan brand deal. They don't have big Bill Belichick. They're not in a state that they don't have. There's nothing about Miami that checks off the same boxes. Why would we consider it the same thing?
I don't think the Big Ten, I believe the Big Ten wants Florida State, and I don't think they want to have Miami compete with Florida State in that conference. The SEC already has Florida, but I don't think Miami is as valuable as many have pitched them to be.
I think Miami as a thought, as a brand is valuable. I think when it comes to the SEC and or the Big Ten, they're already valuable. Like they don't need another program to come take a piece of the pie. And the SEC really, they want places that they're not already in, right? It doesn't give them any value to add another Florida school. It's the reason that Clemson, they weren't interested because they have South Carolina. It's the reason they don't care about Florida State. And so those schools kind of try to cry their way out of the ACC and ended up realizing that nobody wanted them. And I thought it was interesting that the reason they have to wait till 2030 is because the exit fees dropped from 93 million to 75 million. So you also have to have a program that's willing to pay that. And so you also have to think like which of these schools in the ACC is willing to fork over 75 million to join the Big 12. And I think Miami would probably be the only one with that kind of cash flow that's willing to let that money fly. And also, as I think
I've got an idea.
That's boardtastic, I tell you.
That's boardtastic. So why doesn't Memphis try and call up Florida State and say, hey, let's split the $200 million. Let's get ourselves both into the league.
I think Memphis getting rejected by the Big 12. I think that's sort of like I don't foresee the SEC being like, hey, Memphis, come on. Don't make me talk about the Big 12 in that light, Jake. Don't make me do it. But no, I think it was worth a shot, right? If I was Memphis, I would try with the ACC. But at the same time, I think the only fear about Miami is like, why would they not want to stay in the ACC if, say, Clemson and Florida State leave? Then they could just run the conference and finally have success, because I don't think I was alive for their last successful season.
Okay, pause there. I will say, what's successful season? They were a top 15 team last year. Almost all of us hosting this show would love to be a top 15 team, right?
You
were not, Jake. Okay, and the final rankings, I guess, will include the bowl game, and you could get it.
They carry themselves like a playoff contender, national champion contender.
They were a playoff contender last year. They were in the top 15.
Who has a national championship trophy here?
Oh my gosh, how long ago are we
talking?
Two
about? Of us.
That's way before the gray in your beard hatch.
I'm just saying, we got the crystal ball, man. That's all I got to say.
That's a long
Miami would be fun. Miami would be fun, but Yormark looks at location too. Like he took a Big 12 media day to Las Vegas. What about the hub of Atlanta? What about Georgia Tech? I know it might not scream like an exciting piece, but being in the Atlanta area, it would be really
all of a sudden people really like Georgia Tech. They seem to be this expansion darling for a lot of people, which I find very interesting, but maybe they're a Big 10 target and they fall to the Big 12. I do think that Hatch hit the nail on the head with like Louisville, Pitt, Virginia Tech. Not that they're low-hanging fruit. They're pretty good brands in that 5, 6, 7 range of the ACC. They seem to be pretty achievable. And Paul, hey, good to see you. Those schools are going to be very advantageous for West Virginia, who has been by and large outcast from the geographic locations of the Big 12.
Can I throw out another name too? I was going to say,
what is your name, Paul? Now, Parker, let the man speak.
Throw out the name, though. What's the name?
Well, like you said, though, exactly. We, as a West Virginia fan, obviously grew up in these rivalries. A lot of people don't realize that Virginia Tech is a very close second, and some people in the West Virginia community would say number one rivalry to West Virginia. It's a very heated rivalry. There's whatever it is we play for, the Black Diamond Trophy involved. By the way, we've had that for a few years now. I will say this about Virginia Tech. They're on par with, you could probably put them on par as a fan base with any other Big 12 school. They're absolutely a rabid fan base. Can't say the same for Pitt, but the rivalry is better overall, especially from a national perspective. They don't have their own stadium. They play in the Steelers stadium, right? So that's something I think a lot of people look at Pitt and say, if they just had their own stadium, their own deal, that would make them much more of a desirable piece for a lot of people. And then once you get past those two, for me, obviously Louisville is a huge rival with West Virginia as well. You think about Pat White, his coming out game was a 6 overtime game versus Louisville in 2005 and 6. So it was an excellent time to be a West Virginia fan. And then the icing on the cake, obviously, West Virginia beat Miami a couple times when they were really Miami, when we were in the Big East together. So a lot of West Virginia fans remember that rivalry fondly. Well, it's probably one-sided. I'm sure they don't feel the same. But, yeah, so we remember the U when it was really the U, Ken Dorsey, those type of guys. And if you're of my age, you remember those teams and what those Miami teams, they were unbeatable. They seemed to be unbeatable. So there are a lot of teams, I think, that would be advantageous just from a West Virginia's perspective. You can even do Boston College, honestly, if you're going to go back in the day rivalry type connection, right? But I don't know
College
what
is
the
just following. That's my problem.
that's
with
the
that.
problem.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we
All of our
would have
moves
to
can't be
leave.
about West Virginia, Paul. We can't all, not every move could be about the West Virginia rivalry.
But this is those are the
No,
best
but I
squad-
think two
let's,
can.
But
let's
all of our
settle
moves
in.
can be about Paul for sure.
Let's
That's-
settle.
Yeah.
Let's go to those schools in particular. The schools kind of in that little mid-Atlantic region of the U.S. and where they could fit in the Big 12. This is the Dos Grande squad. Today's show is brought to you by Drip Drop. Why? Because Drip Drop's my favorite drink in the world. If you're staying on top of your routine, whether it's workouts, long days, campus, or staying focused through back-to-back classes, hydration is one. I love that we're marketing to college kids. Hey, college kids, Drip Drop. It's cool. All the kids are doing it. Drip Drop's doctor-developed, scientifically proven for fast hydration. Now that I've been doing it, it's just little powder, not that kind, in my water bottle. You shake it up, electrolytes in your body. I always keep a few packets in my backpack. Save me more than once from midday crash. Right now, Drip Drop is offering Locked On listeners 20% off your first order. Head to dripdrop.com and use promo code LockedOnCollege. That's dripdrop.com, promo code LockedOnCollege for 20% off. Stock up now before your lack of energy hits hard. Drip Drop.
It's
If you're wearing that
7
sweatshirt,
o'clock
you
on the
better
dot.
specify
Got my
what kind
drip
of
drop.
powder you're using. By the way, so good job.
Yeah.
Speaking of drip drop, did you know that you cannot roll a you have to throw a
Can't say it.
Can't
Can't say it. That's the M word. That is the M word. And
They definitely just bleeped Cody. Like
We
a
just,
lot of
Cody
times.
just got bleeped. He used the Dave Aranda word. I called. So this is insider baseball. I called Cameron Stewart and said, we have to talk about Dave Aranda encouraging throwing those with dwarfism. That's how.
Wait, is the M word a bad word?
Yes, you can't
Yes.
say it. We
No.
called Zach Blackerby and we're like, so do we say it? Do we quote him? And Zach goes,
Oops.
no. So
I think we should also pay homage to Mike Leach, who once talked about this a long time ago, back when he was in the Big
Yes.
12. He said this back in like 2010. This is old news. Aranda's a Leach guy, so I get the connection, but like this is old news. Leach was just an innovator that I think we all owe some credit to.
that was a crazy press conference quote. Hatch.
Wait, can I get us back on topic here? Because I got a question for everybody that I want to. Because
What do you think you are?
Jeez, all right, Hatch. God bless.
Okay, the Sports Business Journal is saying that what SMU did, essentially buying their way into the ACC, essentially has set the groundwork for what the future expansion for conferences is going to be. What Memphis tried to do, essentially buy their way into the Big 12. They say it's going to follow what the pro league's doing. You're going to have to bring value. You're going to have to pay your way in. Are we looking at this from the wrong angle, that we're not doing it simply for brand value, that they're actually going to have to pay up to come into this league if they're going to come in?
Well, that's why to me, Miami is just going to pay their way into the top dogs. I really don't see them getting left out.
Yeah, but I mean, if you're going to pay tip, you got to be $200 billion to get into the ACC or the Big 12. What the hell are you going to have to pay to get into the Big 10 or SEC? It's going to be a huge number. Who's going to actually have this number?
Well, Miami's got a lot, and I still think they'd want him. I know a lot of you guys
Would it
don't.
be
I
worth
still think
paying
they'd
that
want
when
him.
you then? I mean, that money's going to come from the money you're already paying to players. You're not going to stop doing that part,
Right.
Yeah, I feel like they're going to find a way to make it work.
It's a question of, do any of these teams, like Miami, for instance, since we're talking about them, does Miami want to pay? We'll just call it $400 million, double it. Do they want to pay $400 million to? They've already been in the middle of the ACC.
Correct.
So what happens when they go to the SEC? They're going to stay in the middle or go to the bottom. Like, do they want to pay extra money to bring in more money but never be good? Like, or would they rather be join a conference for cheaper and possibly contend more frequently and return to their?
Borba, on a smaller scale, there's a lot of people wondering why UNLV didn't jump to the Pac-12, because UNLV looked at it and said, hey, Boise State's leaving. We're going to be able to ascend to essentially the top of the Mountain West. Yeah, we're not willing to jump over there and play second or third fiddle again every single year. We'll be the top dog in this league, and we'll stay over here. And that's the same thing I think Miami is considering.
I think the only conference that doesn't have to worry about teams paying in is the Pac-12 right now, because they're still looking for another, football conference opponent. But other than that, for teams like conferences like the Big 12, the SEC, the ACC, if they want teams to come in, they're going to be very picky. I really do think that's going to happen, and we'll see what happens.
As they should be, Christian. They should be picky. We should just be adding anybody to add anybody.
It's
We'll go
also
to 20.
North Carolina's interested. It doesn't mean the SEC is.
Yeah,
that was the whole point.
I think that feels right.
Well, guys, that's precisely why I said Miami, because they're the ones that are not getting talked about when it comes to a destination for the SEC or the Big Ten. Yeah. Nobody's talking about Miami. So if I'm Miami, I would take that as a slap in the face and look to the Big 12 to be that next conference. Because here's the deal. If Florida State and North Carolina and whomever else leave the ACC, then isn't winning the ACC just kind of turned into the world's tallest dwarfism award? Right. If the heavy hitters are no longer in the conference, then I think it.
But you could have said the same thing about the Big 12 after you lost Texas and Oklahoma.
I'll allow it.
Yeah, but at least there's parity in the Big 12. The ACC is like a pillow fighting conference for 90% of that league. So you can't take the pillow fighting league and then make it all of a sudden magically delicious because Florida State and North Carolina leave. That's not good for Miami.
And to Kevin's point, in that exact same pillow fighting league, Miami just came in third in the conference ostensibly, right, with a Heisman Trophy winning quarterback and didn't have to play three of the other top four.
Heisman
right,
contender. Heisman contender.
Come on, Parker.
But you understandably, like with all that talent, he's a Houston area kid, so I'm actually a Cam Ward kid, but that's fine.
They did beat Iowa State in the bowl game. Like, I don't like being the anti-Big 12 guy on here, but like literally without Cam Ward, you guys go so unrealistic that I have.
They lost Iowa State.
You're gonna make the Kansas State guy back up Iowa State here. The two Pop-Tart champions are battling in Dublin.
Iowa State beat Miami.
Yeah, Iowa State beat Miami.
No, Iowa State did do, but it was a backup quarterback, and they still played him right there. Cam Ward played the first half and then sat the second. half.
What? Breaking news: backup quarterbacks can be good.
I know that's your whole belief in BYU is exactly that backup quarterbacks can be good.
Wasn't the case of Utah, so I get why he's surprised.
JT could play quarterback at BYU.
I heard you last week. Trust me, I got you.
I slipped that at the end. You still found it.
I feel like NC State it's just they're an easy team to overlook. I mean, you could make a case for them.
But if I want 4, Paul, if I want 4,
NC State was the one I was going to say earlier, but I
want Virginia Tech, I want Pitt, I want Louisville, and I like Georgia Tech or Miami or Duke over NC State. Probably.
Same with Boston
right?
College.
I don't know. I don't know. That's close. I think it's close.
Like Syracuse, no. Wake Forest, no. Boston College, no. NC
I think you're missing the idea of
gray area.
The financial idea
actually,
of adding
West Virginia has
the
a trophy with Syracuse too.
Stanford?
No, Paul. That's where I draw the line. Is us letting Syracuse into the conference? No.
I think you're overlooking how important adding states is to the conference financially. I think you expand to an entirely new television market. NC State's a public school with a big presence in that state.
Yeah, but they're the third fiddle of Tobacco Road. Why would you want them?
Yeah, I'd rather have
get the other two
because they're going to be a lot cheaper.
There's Schwartzwalter Trophy.
Cheaper,
Syracuse.
not long term. Long term, they'll want a full share.
Yeah. Get Miami, get Georgia Tech, NC State, and Duke, or Virginia Tech.
Why not Pitt? Why not Louisville? What do you what?
In each cases, you need to be adding. You need to be adding states, right? That's at the end of the day, you need to be adding states,
NC
adding
State does not
territory.
deliver North Carolina. Sorry, they just don't do it.
But you already have y'all talking about Miami, and you already got Central Florida. And I understand it's not a very big dog in Central Florida. I'm talking about literally getting the TV dollars for the state. Okay. You're saying I want them to have to buy a package with the Big 12 in it.
But that's the problem. Is there a lot of people are saying out there that the next media rights deals are not going to be dependent on a market size anymore. It's going to be more about what you can offer in terms of overall competitiveness.
Because what we learned is like, sorry SMU, sorry TCU, Houston, even like in Orlando or Miami, they don't draw the way we expect them to. Like Washington, they don't draw. You can't guarantee. Oh, we have the Seattle market. You actually kind of don't. It's usually those schools. Sorry Houston. But the Rockets will always be bigger than the Cougars, right? And that's not a knock on Houston. It's just.
But NC State doesn't have that problem either. I mean, it's not a pro sports town or something like Houston.
Why are you hating on the Bobcats, bro?
Hornets. How do I get labeled anti-Big 12 every week? But every single show, Drake finds a way to take a shot at Houston.
I think Willie Fritz is the best coach in this conference and possibly in the history of the conference. And I say that every show.
Oh my gosh! What?
I have Houston finishing like 6th in the Big 12
about?
This year.
JT, where's he been fired?
No, not Fritz.
Where's he been fired from?
No, Fritz. I like Fritz. I'm fine. He's
never been fired.
He's no Rich Rodriguez.
He never was the best coach ever in the conference. Parker. That's an asinine take.
Move over, Bob Stoops. Move over, Mac Brown. This is Willie Fritz time now. He's the only Big 12 coach at Media Days that shook my hand. And so now I am so in.
There we go.
There it is.
He probably there it is. Worse. That's probably why.
Probably even wash on hands.
Nicely done, Willie.
He was looking for anyone's hand to shake, by the way. He was really like wandering around. I look at Parker.
You want to hear something crazy West Virginia just did?
All right.
They put a clause in Rich Rodriguez's contract that his slogans: hard edged, spot the ball, hold the rope. And I wish hot piss, but they didn't use it. 50% of the revenue made from these go back to the football program. Isn't that a pretty
How much of
inventive
that
way?
revenue is TikTok?
Ren Baker, man, he's so good. I mean, I've never heard of this before, so what do they call it? A personal indictus, or I don't know how do you say it, but
no clue. This is above my pay grade. Coming up, that we have
Random.
buried a big lead here. Deion Sanders is back. Big 12 squad. Kevin Borba. I think all of us were kind of gearing up. I think most of the country was for Deion Sanders to come to the podium and say that this was it. Like medically, he's going to have to retire due to health issues because he hasn't been with the team. If you gave me the context of, oh, he has bladder cancer, then it would only make sense. It would be like, you know what? I completely get that. They removed his bladder. I understand how you take a break from coaching at that point. Instead, he comes to the podium, says there was a treatment option that would have taken years and daily, weekly appointments, or I'll just get my bladder removed, and now I can coach football this fall with a porta potty on the sidelines. This was unexpected, I think, for a lot of people. Deion, after being cured, his doctor said, of bladder cancer, is back, all ready for Colorado.
Yeah, I think that's probably the biggest news of the offseason, really. It was, I would say, a little scary in Boulder. I think a lot of people were having those same thoughts, whereas, we all know he's had health issues. I didn't realize how many it was until the press conference. He's had 14 surgeries since 2021. Which is insane. He's had other blood clot issues in his legs, his lower extremities, and obviously he has his bladder cancer. And so when you hear that, I think you're excited for Deion Sanders, the person, right? You're excited that he's able to battle through this. There's videos coming out now from behind the scenes stuff from his surgeries, which it turns out he has like a really famous girlfriend too. Side note. And
She's
there's
hot.
also, yeah, okay, sure. And there's just a lot of people excited with where he's at because I think, like you said, the normal person probably walks away from that, but Deion Sanders is choosing to coach and choosing to stay at Colorado. And I think, and I got this comment a lot of people were kind of poking fun at the situation, saying this was his Urban Meyer headache situation where he uses it to leave the program because his kids are no longer there. And I got the joke, but I could tell it was something serious based on how close to the vest everyone around the program was being. So very excited for Deion Sanders, the person, excited for Colorado. And now we're going to have a porta potty on the sidelines, which is interesting. And
he's got a quarterback battle.
You might as well make it a brand deal.
Yeah.
Yes. Why not?
He already said he wants a brand deal with the Pens. Actually, so that's pretty clever.
Johnny on the spot.
Can I just take an angle?
I people to get checked out, which I think is important to say on here as well.
Yeah.
For those of you at home, get checked out because obviously the reason they found this and were able to cure it was because he was getting checked out.
So an angle that I think is admittedly I am very happy he is okay. I am very it sure felt like over the weekend we're getting a lot different news. Was that a somewhat intentional buildup for a zag? What was that all for? That was leaked from somebody.
Rush to be first, I'd say.
Well, and
there were leaks. It's from his video crew.
There were.
Go ahead, Drake.
To me, from the outsider perspective, I do believe a lot of that was being it's where I want to give some of these random keyboard warriors a bit of solace is based on what we heard. The assumption was for most of the country, he's stepping down. And from there, people love to make memes of he would take the easy way out. No one knew outside of his camp he had cancer. No one expected that to be the news. They were just saying he's going to come to the podium and say, I don't feel right. And so I think in whether it's in the medical issues or on the football field, Deion, there is a flair. He has a media team for a reason. There's a flair for the eccentric. He wants to drum up publicity. And I don't mind the 1 million+ people that watch the press conference and are talking about Deion right now, because again, that only helps bring awareness to a health issue that he wants to help out most of American men with.
Yeah, I don't think anyone's upset. I'm not trying to sound upset that he's healthy. Sure. Obviously, that's the best part. No. I'm just trying to say that and it's not right to make the memes and the gifs and the whatever about it either. But a lot of the I think he's about to step down was founded in stuff that was leaked from someone very inside because they're leaking video having to do with his whole media team. That wasn't unfounded at all. And I think that being I can't believe you thought he'd step down. I wasn't making jokes thinking he'd step down. I thought he was going to step down because everyone thought he was going to step down. That felt very normal Monday morning.
But correct me if I'm wrong on this, but he kept the actual knowledge of this to a very, very small group, even including his own kids, Shiloh, Shador. They didn't know the extent of what he was dealing with for a long stretch of this until recently, if I'm not mistaken. Is that right?
Yeah, he told him it was about his foot or his leg or something.
So Parker, to your point, people inside may have thought that they knew what was going on, but it sounds like it was an even tighter circle than normal that actually knew the extent of what was going on.
Yeah, and if you watch the videos like of his procedure, not the procedure, it wasn't live stream, but the post procedure, it's the athletic trainer, it's his security guard, his personal security guard, and then Deion Jr. And I think those were and his girlfriend. So 4 people were there. So let's just assume that there's 4 to 5 people that knew this information. His ex-wife, I believe, knew as well. So 5 people. Usually Deion Sanders' camp, there's people who will share some information here or there, but I think not everyone knew this information, and I think that sort of was the point. And I also think having this meeting, I thought it was odd because when you schedule a meeting with an oncologist who's the head of your medical school's cancer research portion, you Google that lady's name. I Googled her as soon as I saw the little name card, and I was like, oh my gosh, like this is a cancer specialist. Like I assume this is not going to go well, but I think it was just to get the factual information out correctly. It was definitely a very dramatic surgery. They reconstructed his bladder from my understanding. I was only a bio major for a semester, so I didn't fully understand what she said. It seemed very complicated, but I'm glad it worked out.
And I have a question. Sorry.
Yeah. Well, super quick if I can, Paul. I wouldn't blame anyone who followed on what was it, Monday morning when this broke. Anyone who said it's likely that Deion doesn't coach this fall, I don't think they were misconstrued. Anytime you learn like, hey, the cancer doctor's coming out, it's pretty likely that person's. I would take a break from my job if I had my bladder removed. So that's not the craziest statement. I think most people are again, like you, Parker, excited to see that he's back. Yes, Paul?
So, when it comes to elevation there, obviously I just found out about that traveling through. With blood clots, that's a dangerous thing, right? Yes. I'm curious, has there been any knowledge or anything put out there about that regarding his issues that he has with blood clots? Because they made me have ultrasounds in my legs before I even went to Colorado. I'm just curious.
I mean, I personally don't know the answer to that. I think that's
only a semester, Paul. He was only there a semester,
right? It was my advisor was actually happy when I told her I was switching majors. She went to Harvard, and she was like, "Oh, that's a good move for you." I was like, "Thank you, I appreciate that." So I don't have the answer to that, but I imagine he has a full-on medical team. He does these frequent checkups, so right. I think they kind of know the risk, and he doesn't fly a lot, right? That's one of the on him is he doesn't do the at-home visits, and maybe they're like the least amount of altitude we could get you in, the better, right? If you can only have to fly 7 times a year compared to 50 times a year, maybe that works better. So I don't know that. And then in terms of Parker, I wanted to bring up one more thing. I think the only frustration that people were having was, and we all know the accounts where it was like Deion Sanders is retiring or Deion Sanders is doing this, when it was like they're speaking in absolutes, when it's like, okay, we give us 30 minutes and we'll all know, right? We don't need you're
trying to be first.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, and I don't mean to say that that's people need to be excused. There's this like, oh, I can't believe all you guys did. It's like, no, like he said he's gonna have a medical team and a cancer specialist, and there was a video that came out over the weekend that was very intimately filmed about writing his will. Like, most people were like, that doesn't sound good, and I think that's a very normal reaction to have. I don't know why that's people are upset that like that's But
you can't report it like it's fact.
Like the will part is something that I talk about on my show because like my parents are in their 60s, and it's like we sat down and did a will together. So like I know how uncomfortable and awkward that is. Like I know it's not fun. And so for him to like post that, it was definitely concerning. Like I do think in a way they were like building it up. I think it was just the people that acted as if like Deion was like, hey, by the way, BT Dubs retiring tomorrow. Like those people were the ones that people were most upset with.
Yeah, I think it's just unfortunate that you have some people who were trying to be first and rush for the information and then tried to put this out there without having all the facts. It's actually a bigger media conversation just in general. And it was unfortunate that a lot of people tried to go too far without really knowing what was going on. But there was a couple of big accounts that even tried to do that.
Is BT Dubs something that would be accepted widely within the West Virginia community, or should I just leave it?
That's going to take a while to explain. That's going to be a little bit. Yeah, you're going to leave
that
one off. This
for one semester, Paul. I don't know.
Has been a very informational yet slightly funny, as always, the Big 12 squad. That's Parker Ainsworth of Locked On Cougs, Jake Hatch of Locked On Cougs as well, which is very confusing. Christian Rao of Locked On K-State, not confusing. Cody Stovall with the Oklahoma State Cowboys, JT Wisterstill of the Utes, Mountaineer Paul, West Virginia, and Kevin Borba of Locked On Buffs. This has been, it always will be. Hit subscribe because it's fun and we get paid for that. Locked On. Thanks for making us all your first listens every single day. The Dose Grande Squad.